All right, y'all. So it's August 8th, 2026, and it's approximately 11:48 a.m. on that eastern side. We flip the poles. It might be western. Gregorian calendar. Hear me out. I'm sitting up here. I'm smoking and I'm scrolling, taking notes and everything like that. And I come up on this video by O'Shea Duke Jackson. Shout out to your channel, by the way, O'Shea. It's titled Sydney Starr's Used Condom Just Changed Everything. All right, so the recent arrest, this is a lot. Let's get to it. The recent arrest of reality star Sydney Starr has taken a disturbing turn as more details emerge regarding the incident at an embassy suite in Georgia. According to police records, authorities conducted a pat-down during her arrest for sodomy and child molestation, which resulted in an open condom falling from her clothing with an additional prophylactic discovered in her pocket. This development highlights the critical issue of non-disclosure and the potential for dangerous outcomes in personal interactions. The police report states that Sydney claimed the individual she brought to her hotel room identified himself as 18, but authorities have confirmed the minor involved was actually under the age of 16. During questioning, Sydney reportedly admitted to performing oral sex on the minor. The situation mirrors past tragedies such as the 2020 murder of Selena Reyes Hernandez in Chicago, where an encounter ended in violence after the other party discovered their partner was transgender. In the current case, the situation was thankfully de-escalated by law enforcement before it could reach a similar lethal conclusion. The core of this controversy centers on the ethics of disclosure versus the expectation of transparency in sexual encounters. By failing to be upfront about her biological status, Sydney Starr created a scenario that placed a minor in a position of extreme vulnerability and compromised everyone's safety. And it goes back to that fucking stupid ass song, Quiet on the fucking Creek. Okay? That is basically how they solicit young boys that's not really into it, that's on the DL, that's not quite sure, they probably don't want to be in it, but they want to ensure that they are. But you gotta be real quiet about it now. And that motherfucker said since he was a little girl. What the fuck is going on in the world? I think that's what he said. That what he said? Anyway, let's get into the video, y'all. No shade to nobody. And no judgment. But we all under judgment, so that's a lie. Oh, shit. All right, back to you, O'Shea. Duke Jackson.
Coming out by the minute. Just a few minutes ago, TMZ reported something that was strange. And the problem is, when Sydney got arrested, something fell out of the pocket. A condom.
What?
The Hapeville Police Department in Fulton County said an open condom fell out of her clothes during a pat-down, and they found another prophylactic in her pocket. So for those of you who are stupid like me and didn't know what prophylactic means, it's another condom. I don't mean to be in everybody's business, guys, but after doing some research for this video, I could have swore I heard Sydney Starr say this.
I was young-minded. I started my transition at 15.
So Sydney Starr said at 15 that the transitioning process was happening. As I'm educating myself on what this transitioning is, this is a very broad term. For one, I thought that Sydney Starr had got all of the work done, if you know what I mean. But that obviously didn't happen because Sydney Starr wouldn't have a condom for somebody else's meat. Sydney Starr had a condom for, well, you know, at least allegedly. But let's go to this social and medical transition only. This post says, many transgender women undergo social transition, changing name, pronouns, presentation. So here's what we know. Sydney Starr was born as Sydney Favors. The name stayed the same, at least the first one, but the pronouns and presentation changed. That's why we see Sydney Favors as a man on the left and Sydney Favors presenting as a woman on the right. Then here is the most important thing that I feel is important, which is the hormone replacement therapy. Now, the difference between Sydney Favors as a man and Sydney Favors as a transgender woman is the obvious development of breasts, other secondary sex characteristics that would make Sydney Star more closer to a woman, right? But we do not know if this person has genital surgery, okay? And then why is that? This anatomical reconstitution or reconstruction is actually hard and expensive to do, which means that you're taking your penis and turning it into a vaginal canal.
What?
A lot of people think about.
We back.
What?
A lot of people think about doing this. This is kind of hard to do for a lot of folks, from what I understand. Then there is psychological evaluation, surgical scheduling, waiting or deciding, and whatever the case may be. Now, in the case of Sydney Star, it appears that Sydney has not had a problem getting with men to deal with the fact that the penis is most likely still there. And we all know that it must have been okay because Darius McCrary was engaged in a relationship with Sydney Star. So what we can gauge is that Sydney Star did some of the transitioning, but not all of the transitioning, which is why Sydney Star was found with those condoms.
He's right, you know.
And then there is this weird story. According to Sydney, a tall, slender black male in the lobby approached her. The guy approached her and came and told her that she was cute. After that, they had a short conversation. And then he said that he was 18. After he said 18, they went back to the room.
What you want to do is save hundreds when Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance.
That's great, but can you ask your...
To the room. So let's think about this. How many times has somebody came up and just said hello or said you're cute, regardless of their age group? Do you just go upstairs and start clapping them right away? No, nobody does that. Nobody with real sense, because you don't know this person. You know, oh, you're 18. You don't look at the ID, and it just doesn't make sense, right? Why is a person like Sydney Star even staying in Embassy Suites and not an Airbnb? Well, it could be a few reasons. Maybe the credit card is bad. Maybe he has bad history. I'm not sure. But Embassy Suites cannot be less expensive than a house. But what we do know is that a lot of people who use hotels as living situations are selling the booty, are selling the box. So the fact that you're out there at Embassy Suites and somebody allegedly walks up to you and then you go upstairs doesn't change the fact that this person may or may not have known that you were a man. And when I say man, I mean you were born a man. Allegedly, Sydney Star admits to the police that there was some oral situations going on. That's where the oral sodomy comes into play. But the real issue, according to the rumors, is this.
She did try to she gave the little boy oral, whatever. And then when she tried to take it for the penetration, I think that's when the little boy started feeling uncomfortable. You know what I'm saying? And they started to like tussle and fight, and he went to tell his family.
Did he start tussling because he found out that it was a man, or?
But I think
the young man under the age of 16 did not know what was going on. And that's important because Sydney did not want to let the person know that, oh, by the way, I got a penis.
Damn.
And that's what this real case breaks down into. Sydney Star is a transgender on television, and people know it, or people know about it. But for people that don't know who Sydney Star is not telling people, listen, I am born a man. I'm now living my life as a woman, and I got the same thing that you got. Do you want to deal with that? Now, obviously, you don't tell anybody under the age of 18, right? But in general, Sydney is not telling people this. And that's the issue here. That's why the boy, once he found out what was going on, he tried to leave, and Sydney did not want the individual to leave.
Brother, hold on, hold on, brother.
And because the individual was under the age of 18, under the age of 16, then here we go with some level of grooming, right? And this brings me to a story that happened in Chicago a while back.
Police say video from the neighborhood led them to the alleged killer, 18-year-old Orlando Perez, now held without bond. Investigators say Perez had gone home with the victim, 37-year-old Selena Reyes Hernandez, shortly after meeting her on the morning of May 31st. And in her basement apartment in Marquette Park, Perez learned Reyes Hernandez was transgender.
The offender became very upset. He left the residence. He became more upset, and that's when he came back to the residence, and then he brutally murdered the victim in this case.
So in mid-June 2020, this young man, Orlando Perez, was solicited by Selena Reyes Hernandez. And he went back to the house with this individual. And the individual, he found out after the sexual encounter, was indeed a transgender woman, not a cis woman or a naturally born woman. He was so upset, he went home, got his gun, came back to Selena's place, and after he unalived Selena, he was so mad, he left again and came back in. Now, once this happened, here is what you heard from the trans community.
We can't protect ourselves alone. We need the entire community to come together.
Now, we need somebody to support us. People are killing us. People are hurting us. And I understand that Selena Reyes Hernandez should not have been shot, but let's switch the tables, okay? Let's think about this young man who was under the age of 18. Let's say, for example, he doesn't go and tell the police. He doesn't go and tell his family. He goes home, gets his father's gun, come back to Embassy Suites, and this conversation is now different because no longer is it about Sydney Starr taking advantage of a young person. The conversation changes to, oh my God, people are hating on the trans community. It's not right.
Boy, y'all sit your stupid ass down. Who the f you think you is?
And the reality is that because of what's happened now, it's so undeniable. And the trans community is sort of facing this slack because of what happened. There's no way but to get out in front of this. But the reality is, for people or certain individuals in the trans community, it's the fact that folks are not disclosing the idea that, look, I got this, or I'm really not born that. And then you have people now in the trans community that feel that they have the right not to disclose that to the person. Because you know what? I feel like I am a woman, or I feel like I am a man. So I don't owe you this whole idea of letting you know, letting you choose, say yes or no. I don't owe you that. In fact, you are being transphobic if you're telling me no. I've seen certain videos in my research for this particular episode where you got folks that obviously believe that. People think they're entitled to keep this to themselves. They don't have to reveal this. And ultimately, this could have ended completely different. This could have been a completely different outcome with a completely different narrative. Thank God that the correct authorities were alert about this and were able to make a really great decision in locking up Sydney. But guys, what do you think? Did I reach on this episode? What?
All right, so that's his channel, O'Shea Duke Jackson, and we about to go over there right now so we can see. If you want to go ahead and subscribe to his channel, I'm already subscribed. Over 502,000 subscribers. And let's go over to the videos here. And as you can see, we just watched Sydney Starr's used condom changed everything. He also has Godfrey and Wyclef Jean just started this beef with Black Americans. Roland Martin's wife is going out sad. Sydney Starr never thought we would see this. So that's more on Sydney Starr. Wow. Since you over here going over to my channel, Damika is Rising 999. Damika's Rising. and you can go and view the channel. Feel free. Tap on videos, and there you will see the most current reaction videos that were done. Rod Digger drops knowledge and gives a ... Saxophones are getting louder. Kenny Smith marries ... Is Roland Martin rainbow? Part of the rainbow community? Ain't nothing wrong with it, but and having sex with ... You can also go over to the live videos and tap on the live, or go over to the playlist and tap on tarot divination, like the zodiac one. And we just did the Leo season messages for the Leos and for all zodiacs. We also did what should you expect during this transition, right? And that stopped at 144. That's amazing. If you're not into the zodiac or astrology, you can definitely tap on just tarot divination, and we have a bunch of videos there. Saxophones are getting louder. Liar, liar, tongue on fire. Who is Sekhmet, and what are the messages you should receive from that energy? Who is Uncle Tom, and what is a boot ... What did China discover while drilling? What did certain physicists find while family? Can you trust them? And what is keeping them up at night? Much peace, much light, much love, but especially the darkness because of dark matter. I love y'all.